Hi and welcome to yet another episode. As you can see, big box Amiga games again, but actually I'm not going to be going through these properly today. What I'm going to be doing is just talking about Play Expo in Blackpool. I went to that not last weekend, the week before that. I know there's been a bit of a gap with the big boxes. Basically that's down to my wife had a week off from work and I'd rather spend a lot more time with her than talking to you lot. But basically she was nice enough to let me go off to Blackpool, as it were, and spend a few days there. I had such a laugh there. My cheeks were hurting by the end of it, and the amount of smiling that I was doing and laughing. Not that I don't have a nice time anyway in life. It was just great speaking to like-minded people that are into retro games, into gaming, just talking silly stuff really, and just having a laugh. And I hope I made some people smile as well. Now, this was actually handed to me by Pete, and his channel is onaretrotip. Don't know why I stumbled over my words there. onaretrotip. He's a great guy. First time I've met him. I've seen him a couple of times in the previous expos that I've been to, and I've seen his channel here and there over the years. I don't know what to say really. I'm still sort of jaw-dropped at it. He was talking to Retro Tech Ralph, and Ralph had sort of dropped my name in because he was wearing my t-shirt to being a patron, because, you know, new logo and things like that. And he got talking and he just came across to me and said, "Hey, you're doing big box Amiga games, aren't you?" And I was like, yeah. And then he was like, "Oh, wait a minute." And he went back to his bag, came back with this, and just said, "Here you go, mate." And it was those effect. And it was just really nice of him to do such a thing. Never met the guy in person before, as I say, and I had a bit of a chat with him and a friend of his, and which I'm really sorry, I can't remember your name. I am really bad with names. The only reason I remember Pete's name is because I actually got to speak to him a couple more times. That's how it is with me. I do try. It's not me being rude. I've never been good at it. But anyway, he handed me this Lemmings game, and I mean, it was just so inconsiderate, really, because, you know, I'm trying to have a drink, and when I just got there, really, after the stupid amount of time it took to get up there. I'm only joking, of course. It was really nice of him to hand it. I think I sort of looked daft in a way because of, like, it was like a really great Christmas present or something, like a 10-year-old. It's just, no one's ever handed me a freebie before. They've never actually done that in the realms of, to this extent, especially since I've not known them. You know, I just thought it was a really nice thing for him to do. Now, I can't show you the back of it because there is actually someone's name and address sort of not etched into the cardboard, but, you know, there's an imprint of it, and I want to keep respectful to their name and address. Obviously they've probably moved on by now, but I don't know if they have. But apart from that though, it's a really good in condition box. But as I say, I'll talk about it next time when I do actually do the unboxing. These games that I've got today, I'm going to do at the end of all of that. So because I got Lemmings though, and at one of the stalls, and they were doing a decent price on this, I picked up Lemmings 2 of the Tribes. Now I do remember playing this as a kid on the Amiga. It's in a relatively good state as well, but I'll show all the innards and everything later on. Now this one, they were wanting to sell for £30 because it was in a cellophane bag type thing. I do think that's a bit cheeky, those sort of prices. I understand they want to keep them in good condition, but doubling the price just because you put it in a cellophane bag, it's not the nicest of things to do to people. I mean, granted, I understand people want to make money, and some people have got money to throw about, but quite frankly, stick a £20 label on it, haggle it down to 15, and call it a day. Whereas, because he didn't have the plastic bag, and he wanted 15 for it, I realise this is the original price back in days when that shop was actually open. I managed to haggle him down to £12.50, which in itself is but I was happy to pay that kind of price at such and such event. I mean, it's not haggling at a car boot sale or something like that. But that's something that I would highly recommend to people at these expos and things. What have you got to lose? They're wanting a price that you think is too high. In a very polite way, say, well, you know, what's your best price? And they'll give you a price, and then you can go, man, I'm not too sure. You know, maybe a little bit lower on some price. What you think's fair, but don't be really horrible. As in, you know, wanting £15, don't offer them £3. You know, that's just not the way to do haggling. But you get closer and closer, and eventually you come, yeah, all right then. And you know, and you can do better as well though if you buy like lots in one go. And just do that. I realise it's maybe not the British way of doing things, but let's be honest. We used to haggle in this country, and then we gave up because we wanted to be posh. I don't think there's anything wrong with haggling. Plenty of people do it in other countries. I know it'd be a bit strange going to your local corner shop and saying, you know, 50 pence for a can of baked beans, or I'll give you 27 pence for it. No, that's not the time to haggle. If it's too expensive for you, go into a different shop. But when it's a market stall, when it's a car boot, when it's an expo sort of thing, I mean, it's not much more than just being a fancy car boot, really. Haggle a little bit. Don't be horrible about it, but see if you can get a couple of pounds knocked off. All they've got to do is say, no, I'm sorry, I can't go that low. And you go, oh, okay then, and wander off. I know I've gone on a little bit like that, but I was highly surprised in how many people are just looking at the prices and then going around and going, oh, it's far too expensive. And they've not even tried to haggle a little bit. Or people who've got a fair bit more cash than myself are more than happy to pay that big price because they find it not the correct thing to haggle. And yet these people, what they're doing these stalls, they're more than used to it. And as I said, you just come to an extent of, there's no need to be calling each other names, just be polite about it. Anyway, next one. The Gaming Muso. Now this guy is a funny chap and he's also very clever. I wish I could play a musical instrument. I can't. I'd be lucky if I could play elastic bands across an old paper hanky box. This guy though can really play the guitar and he really understands the music of the games, and what he does is he reproduces the music of the games, maybe in a bit more of a you know, rock on sort of music, but it's really, really clever in what he does, and I really respect what he does. And he does a lot of gigging around in pubs and clubs and things like that, and quite frankly I think it's about time this guy got picked up, and if that's the direction he wants to go, but of getting picked up and being in inverted commas, you know, a very good band. Doesn't matter if it's your kind of music or not, but the guy definitely knows how to shred the guitar, I think that's the correct term. But yes, great music, and a really funny guy. He's got a good sense of humour. I believe he's from Hull. He had a bit of trouble getting his CD covers done and everything like that. He sent them off, and something silly about the template that he had used from their own website wasn't the template that should have been used. I mean, how to screw your customers over. Anyway, they did fix it free of charge, which is only right. He did a gig on the night, I think it was Saturday night they did it, and he was on a chat panel as well, which was also very good. Yeah, I would, if you can get hold of his music. He only wanted £10 for this little CD, and it's got 11 tracks on it and a bonus track, so 12 tracks in total. He signed every one of them. As I said, great guy. I'll put a link to his channel. I'll also put links to everybody's channel that I can remember. If I haven't put a link to your channel, please come into the comments and say, hey, what about me? You met me. And I'll be more than happy to put it in the list of the links that I've done. So what I'm also going to do now though is show you a bit of a video, and I'm going to talk over the top of that. So let's move on to that one. So Dan from Retro Recollections, Ralph from Retro Tech Ralph, and myself stuck at Preston waiting to go on a bus because they had stopped the trains. And as you can see, we had about 130 meters to walk in the queue, and that nearly took closer to 2 hours to move that place. Thank goodness the weather held out and it wasn't chucking it down like it had been said it was going to do. But basically we got stuck there because the trains, where the trains go, the fields and everything on either side had flooded, and they didn't want it to, they were calling it the ballast, and basically they didn't want the land to move with the weight of the train going across it while it was all flooded. Very understandable. Just would have been nice to put an awful lot more buses on to get us across there. It wasn't as if it was a late notice, but that's just me whinging as always. But what I found really funny was that I was joking with the guys that wouldn't it be funny if we ended up being on a double-decker bus going that way, and Ralph didn't like the idea of that. And the double-decker bus turned up for us. This was not our coach. We stood there for another half an hour or something like that. It was so close, but we ended up getting a double-decker bus. And then, well, it was an interesting trip from from Preston to Blackpool. Let's put it that way. Yes, I think enough said about that as it is. But anyway, that was an interesting trip there. And then when we got there, I'd already handed Ralph his patron t-shirt, so he was nice enough to stick it on that evening. It's not the same as what mine was. Well, it was on the front, but on the back it says, basically on the lines, that he's a patron and so should you be. He looks very proud there, I think, for wearing it. Very nice guy for putting it on. It was actually because he had done that, he ended up chatting to Pete, and you've already heard that story. Here's the t-shirts that I wore. That's what it was on the back of mine. Now, for everyone who told me that the QR code doesn't work, two things. Dodgy lighting where all the arcade cabinets are and everything like that. Second, get yourself a better phone. For me, it works perfectly. I'm only joking. I don't know why it was so unresponsive to some people's phones. But for mine it works, and that's pretty much, actually it works on my phone and it works on my wife's phone and a couple of other older phones that I've got. So I think it was maybe because I was actually wearing it, it was sort of a bit warped, you know, the way my material goes. It was worth a go. Some people did actually click on it, and I do have some followers from it now, so that's great. And it was just a different colour t-shirt that I wore the next day. Now, this was when we went out on the Friday night, and the sky just looked wonderful that night. Red sky at night, shepherd's delight. And that was the thing. On the Saturday, it was a really nice weather. It was supposed to be absolutely chucking it down the whole weekend, and it didn't. It wasn't, you know, it's autumn weather. It was cold enough. And then this was a bit further along, waiting for the tram, just to prove that I'm actually at Norbrek. As you can see, it's just a really nice sky across the Irish Sea there. Now this, on the other hand, this was the corridor of going up to my room. Now, I was on the top floor, so that's the roof leaking in. Luckily it wasn't actually in my room, but I'm glad I wasn't in the opposing hotel room that wall was leaning onto, because I bet it didn't look very nice inside there either. This was my room. You can see that the wardrobes had better days. The wall to the right there behind the TV, that's paper thin, and I do mean paper thin. Everything that happened in that room I heard, word for word, action for action. Well, we'll leave it that way. It wasn't a pleasant night, especially on the last night that I stayed there, on the Sunday night. But what can you do apart from make the wall sticker? We'll leave it at that though. If you want to know the story, ask me the next time you see me. That TV was tiny, and the only HDMI port that's on it, by the way, you couldn't actually get to because of the stand that they had put on using wood screws. That was actually the corner of the room. That's pretty bad, that. Get a lick of paint on there, Norbrek. This, on the other hand, was my view, my oh so wonderful view of the fire escape from the top floor. Yeah, okay. Don't know why, but very strange. On middle at night, I did hear someone go out the fire escape, which didn't set off any alarms. I can kind of understand why they don't suddenly just make them go whack whack all over the place, because someone goes through them. But yeah, I could hear someone trundled up those stairs and decided to go stand on the roof and then bang around. Don't know what they were doing in the middle of the night at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Don't know if they were contemplating life. Thankfully, it doesn't seem to be anything in the news, but it's a bit scary when you wake up in the middle of the night and you can hear people walking around on your ceiling when you are the top floor at that end. Me and the few guys went and got breakfast on the Saturday morning. It tasted as good as it looks. I'll leave it as a statement like that. It was definitely better than the Norbrek breakfast that I had the following morning. I'll put it like that for both of them. I've had better, and I don't mean just like my wife's cooking. I've had better at bed and breakfast and other cafes that I've been to. But it was edible, and I didn't end up having a nasty outtake to that. Let's put it that way. On the way back, I took this photo. It's one of the piers. Happened to be a nice rainbow just on the edge of the pier there. And then later in the day, Neil from Retro Man Cave and Andrew from the back office were doing a talk. I'll put a link to that. And then we go back to the Gaming Muso. He was doing a gig. You should already see a video of a bit that I did, but there's also a full length one you can see. I'll put links to that below. And then the Spectrum Next, for the people that know me, I'm waiting, or biting at the bit as it were, waiting for the Spectrum Next. This was the poster that they had, and then later on I got to take a photo of some of the new games that are coming out for it. On the Sunday though, it did this. It rained, and it rained, and it rained. But then there was a bit of a break in the weather. We nipped across the shop across the road there to have a look, and that's the back side of the Norbrek. It looks just as good at the front. As you can see, this is everything that I bought apart from the CD, the bag and the notebook, the Galaxy Guardians notebook for my wife. She's really liked them. She's not a huge into games or anything like that, but she likes it when I come back with strange and unusual things. The gamepad is for the GX 4000 or the Amstrad Plus series, and in my case I have the 6128 Plus. I already have one of those gamepads, but I wanted a second one since there's 2 ports. That was a decent price for that, I think. It was actually cheaper there than it is that people try to shift them on eBay. The games though, all the Amstrad games, as you can see there's 19 of them. One of them is a repeat tape, so I've got 2 copies of Daley Thompson. I didn't notice that at the time when I was looking through. One of them's a blank tape and one of them doesn't actually have a cover. Now the guy wanted £3 a tape. I didn't think that was a nice price for one tape by itself, never mind offering to buy them all in one go. I got him down to £1.30. Now if I had paid full price, I'd have paid £57. I offered him, we bartered backwards and forwards and haggled a bit, and we finally agreed on £1.30 a tape, I believe it was. And that comes to a total of £24.70. So it really does show that haggling is worthwhile. If he didn't want to haggle, he could have just said thanks but no thanks. It did seem a little bit peeved, but he could have tried to haggle a little bit higher. I'm not saying I would have paid them more, but in this realms of I bought every Amstrad game that he had. At least I think I bought every Amstrad game that he had there. And as I say, pretty much, you know, more than half price I got them for, just because I was willing to be cheeky and haggle. People class it as being cheeky. I don't class it as being cheeky. I'm polite about it, at least the best I can be. I don't pull silly faces. I don't, whatever, you know, I'm not sarcastic. I just offer what I think's fair price. Obviously I shoot low because, you know, if you can get a bargain, you can get a bargain. But it's up to them to come up a little bit, which this guy did. And there we go. So I'm looking forward to seeing if they all work. If they don't, they don't. It was a punt on my side, and that's the thing. I think I paid a lot better punting prices than £3 a tape. Anyway, let's move on. This is Baz from Retrobazplays. Now, this guy is a laugh as well. He's got a nice little YouTube channel going. For whatever reason, people aren't going to it, they're not picking it up. I'm having the same sort of problems myself of, you know, I've not even got 200 followers yet, but this guy deserves a lot more than what he's currently got. So please go sign up and subscribe to his channel and hit that little bell. Same with everybody that I've linked down below, but this guy really needs to know that the stuff that he does is good, so go across to that. Now, me and him, everyone had already left really on the Sunday, and me and him got a little bit of a tournament going. We played 3 games when we said we were going to play. And we played 3 games, and let's be honest, Baz, I really destroyed you at that card game that was there. But my goodness, when we went to play GoldenEye, you actually cleared the floor with me. But the tournament that we had didn't include that one, so I win. Anyway, it was a really nice time to hang out with you, to do that and have a few games, to actually play some games properly. Can't forget these 2 guys, Dan from Recollections and Ralph from RetroTech Ralph. Both of them are doing great on their channels. Go check out what they do. 2 different ideas on what to do, but both very interesting. I have to say, I do get ideas from both of them. I don't think I pull it off as well as they do, but they're a good laugh travelling up. And here's a photo of Blackpool Tower. That's what it looks like on a cold Monday morning when you're wishing you've got something decent to eat for breakfast. But the rest of the video now is going to be what I recorded as I was wandering around. Keep an eye out for the different arcade machines, keep an eye out for the different indie games. I didn't get to play them myself, but they all look very enjoyable. I'll put links to those particular games and everything in the links below as well, so even if you don't want to sit and watch all of those, please go down to the description below and have a look at all the different links that I've put in there. Hopefully I haven't forgotten anybody. As I said before, if I've forgotten your name or forgotten your YouTube name or anything like that, please come into channel and description and let me know so I can stick it up in the descriptions. Oh, just one more thing. I'm not going to put the whole video of me wandering around recording with me talking over the top of it, blah blah blah, in this video. What I'm going to do is link directly to it. I'm not going to talk over the top of it. I'm not expecting people to watch the whole 7 minutes something. It's just me wandering around and having a look, so that you get kind of an impression of what it's like to be there, the noise, what you get to see, without me interrupting, saying what it is. Because I'm sure there's plenty of other videos that have said this is this, this and that, and been a lot more interesting about it than me. But because I tried to record in 4K at 60 frames a second, and the stupid program, the stupid app, decided it didn't like my phone and recorded it at 720 at 30 frames a second, my footage isn't so great. It's not as good as what I want it to be. So take it as a virtual tour. But I've also got another video which you might have seen by now, which is where I've used a 360 camera. So please load that up on your VR headset, load it up just on your monitor and drag it around, or load it up on your phone. My wife likes it best like that. They load it up on your phone and you just hold your phone moving it around. She likes that. So again, as always, happy gaming.